So I'm painting this picture and this man comes up and talks to me.
It is a perfect day for making art.
Yeah. I think so too. Even
the
if I'm
color is as good as I have seen it in years. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think those summer rainstorms helped.
I think so. I go down there for a couple minutes, but then I'll get out of your field of
Oh,
vision.
take your time. I'm a slow painter and not very good either. One of the reasons I said I wasn't very good at painting was because I was really frustrated with these Derwent Artbars I bought to try out. They don't make these anymore and I can kind of see why. They're kind of crumbly, and to get the pigment to lay down, I had to push down kind of hard, and when I did that, a couple of them broke on me. I was just only trying them because I found them on clearance at a local art store, and the shape of the sticks really appealed to me. I typically use a square brush, and so I thought the square sides of these bars would be perfect. You can see though that when I got the pigment wet, it spread out pretty nicely, especially on this Canva artboard, which is coated to be a little less absorbent than the normal watercolor paper. I also think this is the largest surface I've tried painting on, especially outdoors. It's 12 by 19 inches. It's going to be a nice day to be out, and even though I'm not particularly satisfied with these particular art bars, I'm enjoying this, and I think I can get a good base layer and get the basic composition and shapes where I want them to be. I like using that blue for the distant mountains. It's a good way to make sure they appear further in the distance. I also like to have a really loose, almost abstract underpainting, but it looks like this painting is getting out of hand at this point. I'll blame some of that on those art bars, and I'm confident I can clean it up. This middle stage is what most artists call the ugly phase, and it always seems that this is the point when visitors like that man I talked to earlier come and take a look. I wish I could show them a glimpse of what it will end up looking like, just so they don't think I'm a complete failure of an artist. But I'll be honest, I'm going to have to use something different than these art bars. So I switched to the only other supplies I brought with me, these non-water soluble pencils. They would work great given enough time, but I'm actually running out of time since I have to leave at noon. And time's up. But I'll be back with a better approach. You might be surprised to see what I did. Don't worry, I'll hurry and show you. Using those pencils put a lot of pigment on the canvas, and I lost a lot of the tooth I'd need for future layers. So the only thing I ended up doing at home was to put on this pastel ground to make the canvas more rough so it would take the subsequent layers. This pastel ground is transparent so it won't lose any of the other colors or the composition. This is a good way to almost start over on a painting, and after it's dry, it's like working on a fresh canvas. With all that fun color, of course. That area was really beautiful, so as soon as I could find a free day, I went back. I mean, this is a great time of year to paint outside, so why wouldn't I? With my unfinished painting along for the ride, I set up for a new chance. This time I brought similar but much better quality water-soluble pastels, the Caran d'Ache Neocolor IIs. Using this rougher surface will help me build up the layers of colors, and I'm going to try to make sure I let some of these existing colors peek through. For a lot of this, I'll end up leaving the pastels dry rather than wetting them, but you can see how vibrant they can get when they are wet. I'll be careful to carve out some of these middle trees with my brushwork here. I think I got a little too much color here, and wiping off some of it with a paper towel is a nice option to have. These trees are so colorful, and even though I'm slowly bringing in details, I want to keep some of this loose and abstract characteristics. This rough surface lets me do light colors over dark, and I'm liking the glow of these yellow trees. Man, I had plenty of time on this day, and what a great day to have free time. If you've never tried sketching outside, I highly recommend finding a beautiful spot like this and giving it a go. I wasn't even bothered when I got up to take a break and I spilled everything, all over the ground. Ugh. Oh well, that's part of the experience. Since I was here for quite a long time, I'm going to speed this up for you. I don't want you to miss the details, but I don't want you to wait for 2 hours. So I really enjoy using these Neocolors, and I like using a variety of colors to get some interesting depth. Adding this blue, for example, may seem counterintuitive to what you think for grass, but because that field was quite a ways away, it was the color that I was seeing. I also started to work pretty hard at getting the tops of these trees lighter than the bottoms of the trees, because of that sunshine reflecting off the top of them. Here I'm trying to keep the highlights on the ridges of those mountains and the shadows on the side of the hills. Kind of tricky. But I think I did a pretty good job at leaving some of the cooler blue on the distant mountains so they appeared further back. And the yellow and greens on that foreground grass were warmer colors, so they appeared closer. Putting the reds on the middle hills made sense both because of what I was seeing, but also to further distinguish them from the distant bluer mountains. I tried to keep the trees further away less detailed, and the ones closer had more detail. All of this leads to what's called atmospheric perspective, and it's one of my favorite things to practice when painting outdoors. Learning how to paint distance is one of my biggest quests. That yellow tree here is so eye-catching, and I really wanted to make sure it stood out. When I was trying to make the sky a bit more blue, I turned the painting upside down, just to make sure the water ran down and away from the rest of the painting, because I messed up earlier and it ran down, but I fixed it. Okay, well, I think I'm done. I can't do any more with this. This was a great spot, and lots of people came and went while I painted. I had a really good time. And did I ever finish? Well, I just kept working on it, and I really enjoyed doing this. And I hope you enjoyed how I compared using two types of pastel sticks in this painting. If you'd like to see another video where I compared Derwent ink tints with Derwent watercolors, take a look at this video. Thanks for exploring art with me.